NBA Insider Shams Charania had a lot of interesting things to say revolving around some of the latest 76ers trade buzz. All of that coming your way on today's Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, we appreciate you for hopping on board and joining the show. Make sure you hop on board and join the channel. Hit that subscribe button. All of our coverage here aims to be as informative, insightful, and entertaining as possible. And let's grow the 76ers Now family. Help us reach 14,000 subscribers and lock us in today. So Shams Charania was doing a podcast, and he was asked about the current situation with Philadelphia on the heels of what was a really impressive win last night over the Minnesota Timberwolves, in which Joel Embiid officially became the MVP frontrunner, dominated the best team in the Western Conference, and now could the Sixers be adding to this roster? Shams with this direct quote saying, Zach LaVine, OG Anunoby, those are the two names to keep an eye on as guys that Philadelphia has monitored. Further with that quote, the Sixers are continuing to look at the marketplace because you look at their asset pool. 3 first-round draft picks that they can trade. They have a bunch of contracts. Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum, Zach LaVine, and OG Anunoby. Those are the two names to keep an eye on as players that Philadelphia has monitored and they have a level of interest in. Shams also talked briefly about Tobias Harris, and we talked about Toby on Wednesday's show here on 76ers Now, so go back and watch that when you're done wrapped up with this show. Here's what Shams had to say about Harris, and then we'll expand our thoughts on all of this coming up on the docket. Another thing to keep an eye on, Shams said, is Tobias Harris. He's a guy on an expiring deal, $39 million this year, and a lot of teams are keeping an eye on him and seeing what exactly happens with him. The Sixers want to keep him around. They know how important he is. So I told you just moments ago, we're about to break all of this down. And I disagree with the Sixers' thought process here of Tobias Harris. I don't think that he's all that important. You get rid of him, you bring in a player like OG Anunoby. That's the move that I would love because of his defensive prowess. You need somebody who's going to be able to guard a Jason Tatum, a Jimmy Butler, a Giannis Antetokounmpo, a very solid wing out there if the Sixers want to tap into their fullest potential and make a deep run in the Eastern Conference playoffs. You all know that me personally, I'm not a Zach LaVine fan. Frankly, I think a Zach LaVine trade for the Philadelphia 76ers would be the worst move that they could possibly maneuver for a couple of reasons. I think Zach LaVine has been a locker room cancer for the Chicago Bulls. They're actually playing really good basketball with him sidelined and away from the team. I also don't think that LaVine makes any sense at all for the Sixers roster. Why? He takes shots and opportunities offensively away from Tyrese Maxey, as well as Joel Embiid, and a lot of the same issues that I have with James Harden on this team in years prior, where the offense becomes clunky and the ball dies. I think that happens with Zach LaVine. You can tell me all you want to tell me about as far as the scoring production from LaVine. I don't care. I think he's an inefficient player, and I've really cooled on him over time, and the winning percentage with him, with Chicago, with Minnesota, it has been bad for a really, really long time. But really, what this boils down to for me, and you look at the numbers this year, 21 points per game, 5 boards, 44% from the floor, that ain't good. Neither is 33.5% from 3. I'm just not sure stylistically where he fits in with the 76ers offense. And then you look at the contract. And this is why I'm calling cap on this, because Philadelphia wants a player who is more affordable, that gives you more financial flexibility, and LaVine doesn't give you any of those two things. 2023-2024, this year, $40 million contract. Next year goes up to 43. The year after that, almost 46. The year after that, almost $49 million for a player who has some injury problems throughout his career, is getting a little bit older, and then something that I haven't mentioned yet, does not play a lick of defense. And since LaVine went out with his injury, the Chicago Bulls have actually been better. They came into the Wells Fargo Center earlier this week, and they handed the Sixers a loss on Monday night, a Sixers team that was on this torrid pace during that previous 6-game winning streak. With LaVine, 18 games played, the Bulls, 5-13. The bad vibes were real, just like they are with the Eagles right now. Points per game, 106.4. Points allowed, 112. And then you look at the field goal numbers. Without LaVine, and this is a decent sample size here, Chicago, they've gone 7-4. Their points per game have gone up despite the offensive prowess that LaVine has. Points per game allowed, that's gone up as well. But really, what you want to hone in on here is the win-loss record. And then the team field goal numbers have actually gone up a lot, 46% for the squad, and 41.5% from three-point range. So without LaVine, the Bulls have become a better player. And so far this season, the Bulls have a plus 1.3 point differential per 100 possessions when LaVine is off the floor versus minus 8.1 when he is actually on the court. So those splits, pretty drastic right there. And when you talk about LaVine's fit, you look at the lineups with the best net rating in 2023-2024, and also Paul Hembekides, friend of the show, he is Mike Greenberg's producer for Get Up and his radio show. He put out a tweet of the best three-man lineups in the NBA. Almost all of them are Philadelphia, but the lineups with the best net rating, who's number one? The Philadelphia 76ers with Tyrese Maxey, DeAnthony Melton, Tobias Harris, Nicholas Batum, and Joel Embiid. You put a Zach LaVine in that equation, and the Bulls and the Sixers suffer. But then you look at the Bulls here. Their lineup is actually pretty good with Kobe White and DeMar DeRozan and Patrick Williams and Nikola Vucevic. Like, that lineup right there, plus 19.8, is actually a lot better without LaVine as compared to with LaVine, and that Sixers net rating is also really good. Also, flowers to Ayo Dosunmu for being a part of that starting five. So Billy Donovan has messed with that starting five with Chicago without LaVine, a couple of different iterations of it. That one right there that we just talked about is number 4 in net rating in the 2023-2024 season, and it's without Zach LaVine on the floor. So are you with me? Do you want the Sixers to trade for Zach LaVine? I'm typing my no. If you want to type your yes and disagree with me, then that's fine, but sound off with what you think down below. For me, in summary, it's a no. And it's a no for all of the reasons that I talked about. He doesn't fit. I think he makes the offense too clunky. He doesn't help you defensively at all. And he messes with the synergy that is part of the reason why we love what we're seeing from the Sixers team here this year. Now, coming up next on the show, more about a player that I like in OG Anunoby and another player I've been critical of in Tobias Harris. Stay tuned for that. But first, Factor, is today's presenting sponsor. The holiday season is here, and we simply do not have a lot of time to go grocery shopping, to do meal prepping. So during this bustling holiday season, you might be looking for nutritious, flavorful meals to fuel you up on jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service, can help you eat well for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with the chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, you'll stay on track with your healthy lifestyle, all while tackling your holiday to-dos. Ladies and gentlemen, you can cross meal prepping off your list this holiday season with Christmas coming up on Monday with Factor, and skip the meal planning, grocery shopping, chopping, prepping, cleaning up, and get Factor's fresh, never frozen meals delivered straight to your door. They're ready in just 2 minutes. All you have to do, heat them up and enjoy them. Yesterday, had a long day at work because I cover the NFL, I cover the NBA, holiday season is here, my running streak is past 215 days. I'm really, really busy. So what did I do when I got home? I was hungry, I was tired, all I wanted to do was sit down on the couch and watch Elf. I was able to do that, popped in a Factor meal in the microwave, and I was able to eat a nutritious meal that is dietitian approved, good for me, and it tasted good. Factormeals.com/NBA Chat 50, limited time deal, 50% off. Next up on the show, let's talk about OG Anunoby. First of all, one of the best names across the entire NBA. And now that I think about it, I might want to call my son, whenever I have one, not Chase, so that he would be Chase Sr. Jr. Instead, OG. OG Sr. That's like the original Gangsta Senior. How good does that sound? Let me know what you think down in the comments. But for OG Anunoby, his numbers over the last 4 years, why I like this player, doesn't require the basketball. He's low maintenance because he doesn't take the ball away from Tyrese Maxey as well as Joel Embiid. He's a stellar defensive player, and I like the fit. Really what I want to hone in on is the defense. His wing defense allows you to really flourish and thrive with a couple of different lineup combinations, but allows you to match up with the Milwaukee, with a Chicago. You put him on a Tyrese Halliburton, which could be a 3-6 matchup. I like that. Against Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics, against Jimmy Butler, OG Anunoby is a terrific all-around basketball player. It's not just a one-way player like a Zach LaVine. He has that familiarity with Nick Nurse, and I'm not worried about the Sixers culture with the player like Anunoby as compared to LaVine. Now, the numbers this year, they are down a little bit, less than 15 points per game. But what I like is how he'd be able to fit on this Sixers roster. 47% from the field, and the three-point numbers, as we just showed you, also very, very good. He also has a championship pedigree. 2019 NBA champion with the Raptors, all-defensive second team in 2022-2023, and was the NBA steals leader last year. He can pick the pocket. He can block shots. He can keep some of the top offensive players in front of him. He can play lockdown defense and knock down threes. That is something that Tobias Harris is not giving you. And Tobias Harris is making more money than OG Anunoby. OG is in the final year of his contract, but you think about the future of this team, he plays well for you. He could be a part of this core. And the fit is somewhat seamless alongside Maxey and Embiid. He's a winner who makes this team better, whereas LaVine does not make this team better. LaVine is the sexy name who might help you light up the scoreboard, but for the reasons that I noted earlier, I'm not sure he makes you a better team. And right now, Philadelphia has been a fun team to watch. For Toronto this year, Raptors are plus 1.4 on their points per 100 possessions with OG on the floor. And then without him, the splits are pretty drastic. Minus 8.3 with him off of it. So that goes to show you the two-way impact that he's able to have. And for OG Anunoby, why we believe OG Anunoby would be a perfect fit for Philadelphia, he's a lockdown perimeter defender. He is lengthy and athletic. He is a catch-and-shoot threat who I think fits well on this Sixers offense alongside Maxey and Embiid because he can catch it, let it rip, and he's shooting damn near 40% from three-point range, and he is not ball dominant. And the Sixers right now, in turn, do not need a ball dominant player. It didn't work with Harden. I don't think it would work with LaVine. I think it would work with OG Anunoby. He's a cheaper player than LaVine, cheaper player than Tobias Harris, and a better fit than both of those players. So pick a player. You going LaVine? Are you going OG? I want you to let me know and join that conversation down below in the comment section. We're doing a great job providing you with some great content, and we like to hear your basketball intellect as well. Let's revisit what Shams said about Tobias Harris here, because some of this stuff is important. He said another thing to keep an eye on is on Tobias Harris. Expiring deal, $39 million. A lot of teams are keeping an eye on him and seeing exactly what happens with him. The Sixers want to keep him around. They know how important he is. We went in depth on Tobias Harris on a video that dropped on Wednesday, so make sure you go back and check that out. And I want to touch on some of the key points that we did discuss, and then you can get some more thoughts on that show. For now, it seems like the Sixers do want to keep Tobias Harris. I think he's dealing with some mental demons right now. He's clearly not a confident player, and he wasn't last night against Minnesota either. 2, his expiring deal does make it easier to find a trade partner. The Sixers could be saying, we like him, we value him. That could all be a ploy for Daryl Morey to drive up the asking price because remember, it's all about negotiation tactics at this point of the year. Number 3, he's been so up and down this year. And I've always called Harris a good player, not a great player. And I don't think that Toby is a bad player. As we shift to number 4, he's just way too inconsistent, and he's a bad fit. What we're seeing right now is a lot of fun. And the Sixers are able to survive with Harris playing this way. But when you get in the playoff series and you're playing against the same squad, they're going to do everything that they have to do and pull out all the stops to stop Embiid as well as Maxey to make the third option beat you. And I'm not sure the third option, which is Harris right now, can consistently beat the opposition in a playoff series. I think Philadelphia should be open to trading him. If they don't think that he's going to be a part of this group moving forward, and I don't see why he would be at that price tag, see what you can get back instead of losing him for nothing. So give me one word to describe Tobias Harris this year. I'm going to say inconsistent. I'm also going to throw out another word, mental. I'm not going to be like New York Mayor Eric Adams, who was asked, what's one word to describe this year in New York? He said, New York, New York. He said, any day you could have a terrorist attack or somebody starting a business. That was really weird. Those are my 2 one-words for you. Hit that subscribe button down below. It's youtube.com/76erstv. As always, thanks for hopping on board and joining the show, and we'll catch you next time. Hope all of you are getting set to have a fantastic holiday.